When Andrea Barber grows up, she's going to publish a newspaper.
My first experience with a Mac was in the late 80s at elementary school. I don't exactly remember what model it was, but I do remember how it made me feel. Inspired. Inspired to be creative, to do more. I remember the first thing we did was Mac Paint. And I remember how awesome it was to get things from paper onto the computer for the first time. Back in the 80s, Apple Computer had a cool look. Not necessarily the Nazi look, but it had a cool look. And of course it was refined in the 90s. Some of my fondest memories are hanging out with my friend at his dad's office. His dad was a Mac addict, and they had every single Mac imaginable over the years, the latest models. So we would spend every weekend just tinkering away on these things, and my love grew deep. So I decided to give some love to an old MacBook. Now, this is not an iBook. At first glance, it looks like an iBook, but MacBook for a while came up with this version, and this is version 7,1. It's in excellent condition as it's been sitting in my closet for just a few years. An SSD is an integral part to new builds. So the Vulcan Z is 240 gigs of savings there. It's $20. Can't go wrong with this. Next up, of course, is some RAM. Now here's where things get interesting because Apple officially says that only 4 gigs go as max into this MacBook. But according to the forums, which that's where the real truth is, the forums say that this Mac could support up to 16 gigs. And just like any true classic Mac, it is easy to open and easy to upgrade. Just 8 simple screws and the lid comes right off. And look at all that dust. Years and years of dust. But it's not too bad. Some quick alcohol takes care of the problem. And this is something that will be lost with newer versions of the MacBook, is the ability to access and clean things, or even upgrade. The hard drive comes right out. Some people are using old hard drives as extra space on their PCs. To me, it's just not fast enough. They're just annoying now. Oh well. Tough love. Rad. We do want to save the screws from that old hard drive in order to be able to mount the SSD properly. And oh, make sure to squeeze that in nice. And of course, no problem fitting that in. Next up is the RAM sticks. As I had said earlier, the max is 16, but I decided to go with 8 gigs to save some money. 8 gigs is the standard for even new MacBooks. Oh, look away, please look away. They go in with ease though. And I don't change the battery out. Rad. So I install a new operating system via USB and holding the Option key down. and that's the chime that I'm after. I decided to install Ubuntu and not mess around with any sort of new Mac OS version. So technically this is a Hackintosh.
Personality.
In much the same way, your emotions can be your own greatest enemy.
And as you can see, modern browsing is totally possible. And next up, I give a little bit of love to my Mac Mini, and this will be the last upgrade. All I did was swap out the SSD and give some more RAM as well. I decided to use slick wraps on here, but I get tired of this beige look, and I want to go with a whole black aesthetic instead. These things are difficult to put on. This keyboard really takes me back, and it is in mint condition. Of course, it has that key that is no longer available, but look at that. This, of course, comes from that G3 era that I was talking about. Simply gorgeous. They just don't make them like this anymore. And then with the mouse, I decided to go with a trackball, because why not? And I even added the Apple event sticker on there. Of course, my accessories match. And voila. Time to work. But this new era of Mac just hits different. But not in a good way. And I don't think it's just me. And although Mac is still on top of the market, Macs today just seem too generic. Too little uniqueness. So this is my breakup with the Mac. It's been a hell of a journey, but I just can't invest in a computer that seems to have lost all its charm.
One cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and we will bury them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
Alright guys, so that'll wrap it up for this one, and hopefully you find a computer that inspires you.